Hello out there. I want to talk to you today about vitamin D, nature's medicine chest. Now, most people think that sunlight causes skin cancer, and the reality is if you lay out and you get fried like a lobster, then it can cause skin cancer. But the reality is that moderate sun exposure is actually very, very healthy. Now, for decades, we've been lied to by doctors and the cancer industry telling us to stay out of the sun and or use plenty of sunscreen. That's not really good advice, and I'm going to explain why to you today. Number one, did you know that vitamin D deficiency has been linked to cancer? And we get vitamin D from the sunlight. Vitamin D deficiency has also been linked to diabetes, osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, and also autism. The reality is also that vitamin D is not a true vitamin because we don't need food to attain it. Natural sunlight allows our body to create vitamin D, and it destroys excessive amounts of vitamin D, our body does. That's the amazing way that God's made us. So how does that happen? When the sun's ultraviolet B, the UVB rays, hit your skin, they trigger a pre-cholesterol molecule called 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is then turned into vitamin D3, also known as cholecalciferol. Vitamin D enhances calcium absorption, it induces cell differentiation, it increases apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, it reduces metastasis and proliferation, that's spreading of cancer, and it also reduces angiogenesis, which is the formation of new blood vessels. Researchers in Belgium also were the first to show that vitamin D lowers C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation in the body. And we know that chronic inflammation is linked to cancer. A June 2007 Creighton Medical School study indicated that appropriate levels of vitamin D3 and calcium reduced the risk of cancer by a staggering 77%. A 2009 study by a group of Leeds University researchers actually found that higher levels of vitamin D were linked to improved skin cancer survival odds, while other studies have shown that vitamin D has a connection to a strong immune response in the body. Now here's the $64,000 question. Does sunscreen prevent skin cancer? We encourage you not to fall for the sunscreen myth. We are told constantly, we're barraged with media, with commercials that we need to wear sunscreen in the summertime. And that is just not true. Here's why. Number one, moderate sun exposure, very healthy for you. But the main thing is that the sunscreen contains chemicals that can actually cause cancer. The main chemical that are used in most sunscreens to filter out the ultraviolet B rays, which is called oxymethocinamate, also known as OMC. And it's been shown to kill mouse cells even at very, very low doses. Plus, it's extremely toxic when exposed to sunshine. And it's present in over 90% of sunscreen brands. The most popular brands of sunscreens also contain other toxic chemicals like dioxybenzone and oxybenzone that are absorbed through the skin where they enter the bloodstream. They generate free radicals, they wreak havoc on the immune system, they damage the liver and the heart, and they even promote systemic cancer. Titanium dioxide, which is another common ingredient in sunscreens, has actually been classified as a potential occupational carcinogen by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. So we are not recommending that you lay out for hours and get charred because that can cause cancer. And if you do tend to burn, you might want to use a natural sunscreen. You could use aloe vera gel. That's a good natural sunscreen. But we actually, the Bollinger family uses Dr. Mercola's natural sunscreen with the green tea for the kiddos if we're going to go outside and be exposed to the sun for a prolonged period of time. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. The term redneck actually originated from the early American colonists in the South who would get sunburned necks during the summer. But their red necks were not just results of being in the sun all day. They were actually a result of a nutritional deficiency. The colonists didn't understand how to properly process corn like the American Indians did. The Indians processed corn using potash, which is highly alkaline, that makes the B vitamins in corn available for assimilation during digestion. But the American settlers, they would simply grind up the corn and consume it as flour or cornmeal. That resulted in vitamin B deficiencies, which coupled with too much sun exposure gave them sunburns and gave rise to the term rednecks. And I can talk about rednecks because I'm a redneck southern boy myself. So I can talk about rednecks that way. Love my southern brothers and sisters, by the way. But that's where the term came from. So in light of the fact that the best place to get vitamin D is natural sunlight and the fact that vitamin D deficiency can lead to cancer, diabetes, and other numerous life-threatening diseases, the warning to stay out of the sun is completely irrational. Do not heed that advice from the medical establishment. It is false. It is bad advice. And despite the importance of vitamin D, it's estimated that over 50% of the U.S. population is actually deficient in vitamin D. So during the summer, we try to get at least 30 minutes of sun every day to get sufficient vitamin D. And I think the actual number that you need is only 7 to 10 minutes per day of sunlight to have optimal levels of vitamin D. But like I said, in the wintertime, especially if you live up north, you need a good vitamin D3 supplement. But take note that most vitamin D supplements are virtually worthless. And here's why. The vitamin D in milk and in most vitamin supplements is vitamin D2, and it's synthetic. Vitamin D2 is also called ergocalciferol. It's not the form of vitamin D that you need to prevent cancer and other degenerative diseases. The form of vitamin D that you need is vitamin D3. And as I've just been talking about, it is produced free for you to get from the ultraviolet B rays in the sunlight that God created. All right, hope you've learned a lot. We'll see you next time. God bless.